How did we get here?
What do you mean?
Sitting in the snow, leaned up against a tree, bullet in my leg. But alive. When so many of my friends are dead for no good reason, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. Everyone we set out with just gone. Nick, Pete, Alvin and Becca, Carlos, Sarah. And for what? It don't make any sense.
You can't blame yourself. It wasn't your fault.
No, not completely. I could have done more, and that ain't up for debate. I know it in my bones, and I gotta live with it.
Alright, it's about that time that I speak about Luke and how Season 2 really did him no justice at all. Also with that, I want to talk about why Luke was a great character in Season 2. So, I will go along and speak about Luke from the time that we first meet him, up until the last scene, talking about the traits and qualities that made him a great character. With that, let's get right into it. Now with Luke, he's actually one of the few characters that we see hold out from episode 1 to episode 5. After Clementine gets bit from the dog she met at the campsite, she, tired and injured, roams around the forest trying to get away from nearby walkers. As one of the undead was close to getting her, she gets saved by two men who end up taking her back to their home. These two men, who we soon get to know their names, Luke and Pete, this also being our first introduction to Luke. Luke and Pete, soon after seeing the bite on her arm, thinking at first it was a walker bite, still take Clementine to their home to see what Clementine said was true about her bite coming from a dog. As the cabin group discussed with each other whether or not Clementine was telling the truth about the bite, Nick accidentally fires a shot with his rifle, fortunately missing Clementine. With the shot though, while everyone was more concerned with whether or not the shot drew nearby walkers, Luke comes out frantically, being the only person asking Clementine if she's okay.
Finger off the trigger, boy.
Whoa! Whoa! What the fuck?
You idiot! Every lurker for 5 miles probably heard
You're the
that.
one telling me to fucking shoot her.
Everybody just calm down for a second.
Clementine, you okay?
Even though this is the first of many of other scenes of Luke, this right here, though it may seem to be a normal scene, shows you a glimpse of Luke as a person. The fact that even though earlier he thought that Clementine was bitten by a walker, he still wanted to not believe that it was that, and that also this girl that he just met comes into the group, he still has sympathy and empathy for her.
Could use some. Oh shit!
What? What is it?
She's been bit, man. Fuck. What are we gonna do here?
No, it was a dog.
I didn't see any dog, Clementine.
Come on, kid. We just saw you with those lurkers back there.
I can't remember the last time I saw a dog. Let's see it.
Whoa. Hey, watch yourself. Hey, don't look at me like that. You're the one that's bit here, okay?
See?
Is it like she says?
Which is why you see multiple times him trying to reassure Clementine and defend her case with the dog bite.
We got a doctor right here, okay? He'll have a look. Now what the hell is wrong with you people? Okay, she's just scared. It's okay. Go ahead, he's a doctor.
What?
By tomorrow morning, if the fever set in, we'll know if she's gonna turn. In the meantime, we can lock her in the shed.
What about my arm? It needs to get cleaned and stitched and bandaged.
The girl is in bad shape, Carlos. Look, hold out the best you can, Clementine, and we'll see what's what in the morning.
The group come to an agreement to put Clementine in the shed to see whether or not the bite is a walker bite, having her wait to see if a fever kicks in. Clementine decides to go into the house to grab some medical equipment to patch her arm. Clementine, heading back to the shed, patches her arm and deals with a walker that snuck inside. After dealing with the walker, after all the commotion coming from the shed, the cabin group head outside to check her and see the results of what just happened. Clementine pleading her case as to why she took the medical supplies, the group tell her to come inside, and thus Carlos checks and fixes the rest of the stitches on her arm. After Carlos finishes patching her up, leaves the dining room, and so we see Luke with a bowl of food that he made for Clementine. Even though he asked Clementine earlier if she was hungry or not, though she didn't give him a response, he still decided to go ahead and make some food for her.
Lurkers sneaking around out here. We better get inside.
You hungry? Hey, brought you some food if you're hungry.
After he gives Clementine the food, he then goes on to learn about Clem further, asking her about what her plan is now. what happened to her parents, and her old friends before meeting up with the cabin group. Luke, asking all of this, though curious, still in a very respectful manner asks whether or not she wants to talk about and apologizes for the bad experiences that she's had so far. This caring nature also shows more in the next few episodes, where we see Luke go out of his way to protect Clementine and show that she's as capable to deal with problems despite her age. For example, him defending Clementine from Carlo's statement about her being just a little girl, and Luke protecting and guiding her through the situation with the walkers and Matthew in episode 2.
Well, we'll just turn back if it gets hairy.
Clementine should stay here.
She's what?
She's just a little girl, Luke.
She's a valuable little girl.
I can do it.
See? No problem. Nice work, kid.
Clem! I'm okay. I'm stuck.
I can't reach.
It's okay. Clem, look, we'll figure something out.
You see him?
Yeah.
But it's not just caring that Luke is good at, but also the fact that he's a good leader. Even though Carver is really the only one to state that Luke is the leader of the cabin group, even then without that dialogue, it's shown quite a few times that if you pay attention, that it would seem that Luke is the person that everyone looks up to on what to do and essentially guide them. When Clementine, Nick, and Pete were out by the stream for too long, Luke decided to go out looking for them alongside with Alvin. When Clementine was in the room with Sarah, teaching her how to use a gun, she gets excited because she thought Luke was back. When the group realized that it was Carver that came into the house when they were gone, Luke suggested that they pack their bags, and with that, he leads them with the map towards the Blue Ridge Mountains. When the cabin group come upon the bridge, though some thought other ideas, Luke makes a plan as to how him and the rest of the group can get across the bridge safely. When the cabin group meet with Kenny's group at the ski lodge for the first time, Luke was right there in front trying to de-escalate the situation. And obviously more examples with that, but y'all understand. You will see that throughout majority of season 2 that Luke was always down to help out or do the things that need to be done for not just himself but for the benefit of the group. Which is why when we see him sneak into Carver's camp in hopes to help the crew escape, that just shows as a leader that he cares for his folks. Same thing when he decided to go after Sarah after the group escaped the horde at Carver's camp. Which, by the way, Luke stated that he's been trying to get Sarah to come with him for hours and hours. And even though it's determined by the player as to whether or not Sarah dies or comes with them, it shows you the sheer patience and willpower Luke has to not leave one of his friends despite the circumstances. And though there are times when Luke does miss the mark on being that leader, like for example him getting a piece of Jane and realizing that he should have been helping withstand the walkers back at the historical site, he takes accountability for his actions and goes on to be an asset to the team. My next point with what I just talked about with him being a good leader and a caring guy brings me to my next point of why he's a great character, that him being very open to talk to and overall having a good demeanor about him. You will notice that a vast majority of the time talking to Luke, whether it's Clementine herself or anybody else, it's easy to be comfortable around Luke because they know the things that he's done for them and the positive reinforcement he's placed on other people to make them feel good about themselves. You ever notice that out of all the people in the cabin group, Luke is the person that Clementine is the most comfortable with out of all of them? Just notice the amount of times where Clementine's face will light up when she's around Luke. Heck, she even has an option whether or not to hug him back at house, which this option just shows you where she's in terms of how she sees Luke. So with all this, I do feel as though in my own theory that Luke was supposed to be the second Lee, if you will. Stay with me now. If you go back to season 1, we saw that Lee was willing to do anything that he could in his power to protect and keep Clementine safe from this new horrible environment which is The Walking Dead. Multiple times you would see that the efforts that he would showcase to us that he's able to keep Clementine safe, but not just Clementine, but the groups that he was in until the last episode of season 1. And if you remember, that everyone looked up to Lee for leadership and guidance, taking care of people when they needed help, doing the hard choices for others when they couldn't do it for themselves, and giving people the benefit of the doubt despite what they have done to him or the group. And with these things, you will notice that Luke shows all these traits within himself, at least with his relationship with Clementine. It felt like a brother and sister vibe. But still in the grand scheme of things, Luke genuinely cared for his group and especially Clementine. And how I know this to be true is the infamous ice river scene in episode 5. You ever get that saying from your parents or loved ones, "I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed"? Well, for this, I'm mad and disappointed. Though I spoke about it a few times in regards to the ice scene, I'll still give you guys context. After the group had a shootout with Arvo's group, they decided to go and follow him since he claimed that they had a house that had supplies in it. Fast forward a day, we get to the point where our group meet with an ice river, though apparently they weren't able to go around.
Is there any other way to get there? Do we have to cross the lake? I should have stuck to the tree line.
The fastest way between two things is a straight line.
It's not far. Just be on the lookout. Maybe there's a way around.
I don't see any.
Which they decided to walk slow and spread out from each other to avoid having too much weight on the ice. Everyone's doing fine until Arvo ends up running and Kenny follows right behind him because walkers showed up behind them. Everyone continues to walk until they realize that Luke behind them, the ice begins to crack beneath him, which soon he falls in partially. Luke tells both Bonnie and Clementine to shoot the walkers behind him so that way he can get his footing again. But in reality it's either cover for Luke or walk towards him to help him up. Now there's so many things wrong with the scene that I just want to go over. First, the option to shoot the walkers for Luke, like he said, makes it to where Bonnie still ends up going towards him despite what he said, which in turn makes it to where both fall into the water. Clementine does have the option to break the ice to help Luke get out, but even if she does do that, he still dies. Which just hurts knowing the fact that one, Bonnie being stubborn to the point of not listening to Luke, to then take note to be the first one to fall in, and on top of that, where did she even go? She was practically in the water longer than Luke, so why couldn't she find Luke and guide him to the surface? She didn't do anything. And to then say that it's Clementine's fault that Luke died.
You could have helped him.
Do you understand how much guilt Clementine must feel despite her doing the right thing to then get blamed for a death she didn't even cause? With the other choice of Clementine being the one to go near Luke, even though they both fall in, what I was mentioning with Luke genuinely caring for Clementine saved her life by sacrificing himself, putting his life at risk by holding down a walker that was on her. This same walker being the cause as to why he drowns. Besides Kenny, who in the group is actually going to go that far to save, if not sacrifice themselves to save Clementine? It also hurts trying to understand why Luke was in the back but not in the front of the group. I understand that Arvo was supposed to be in front to guide them, but at this point we already see the house, so there's no need. I mean, come on, we had Arvo in front but not Luke? They both had injured legs. Another thing is, why was it that Luke had the most equipment on him? I mean, that would be a good explanation as to why the ice was cracking in the first place, due to how much weight his weapons can be. Yet again, take note of the group that once Luke got killed, notice how everyone reacts because they all knew that Luke was a great guy.
He's just gone. Luke's fucking gone. We should have gone around.
God damn it!
I can't believe he's gone. I've lost people before, but it just hasn't felt this shitty in a while.
He was a great guy.
God damn it.
You and I both know you had a chance to save Luke. You and I both know what happened back there. I got nothing more to say to you.
What about Arvo?
Who? Oh, the Rusky? Yeah, he ain't coming with us.
He knows the area. He can help us.
Oh yeah, some help he's been. He got Luke killed.
In any case, despite his death, Luke as a person as well as a character was great, amazing even. His characteristics, the way he carries himself, and overall how he treats his friends and family are prime examples of what makes someone great. In the end, he showed that he had the capabilities that in another universe, or timeline, that he was capable of looking out for Clementine, since he demonstrates one of the strongest ways of showing one that cares for someone, sacrificing himself, for her to have the chance to stay alive. So for me, I would say that Luke earned the title of being great in my book.